The room erupted with laughter, a chorus of unrestrained amusement that echoed through every corner. Everyone was swept up in the moment, laughing and catching their breath. Everyone except him. He stood quietly, his eyes locked on me, showing neither amusement nor anger. His silence carried a weight that filled the room more than any laughter ever could. In that moment, I felt something between us begin to crack. At the time, I brushed it aside, convincing myself it was only an awkward joke that hadn't landed the way I'd intended. But that single moment, those careless words I tossed out just to make everyone laugh, marked the beginning of the end. If I could, I'd take them back in an instant. I'd trade almost anything to undo the damage they caused. Have you ever spoken without thinking and ended up losing someone you truly loved? I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how I destroyed something precious. Not through cheating, not through betrayal, but with one thoughtless moment. Ethan was never the type who needed attention. He didn't rely on grand gestures or loud personalities to stand out. His presence was quiet but comforting, like the warmth of a fireplace on a cold winter night, steady, dependable, and always there when you needed it. We had been together for nearly 2 years. During that time, I came to admire his quiet strength, his kindness, his reliability, and the way he gave people his full attention. It was a rare quality, one I didn't fully appreciate until I lost it. Everything changed during a coworker's birthday party held inside a crowded loft apartment in downtown Denver, Colorado. The place was packed with unfamiliar faces, friends of friends, dates, coworkers, and people whose names I barely remembered. Drinks flowed freely, and everyone seemed determined to outdo one another with the funniest joke or quickest comeback. I've always been good with words. That's how I survive social gatherings. That's how I make people like me. Ethan was the complete opposite. When surrounded by people, he preferred to listen. Whenever he spoke, his words were thoughtful, sincere, and carefully chosen. That evening, though, he tried to join in with everyone else, doing his best to match the room's lively energy. Then someone asked a question across the room. What would your boyfriend do if a mugger tried to rob you? Without thinking, I laughed and answered immediately. Ethan? He'd probably hug the guy and apologize for not carrying more cash. The room exploded with laughter, the loud, contagious kind that feeds off itself. Someone else added, yeah, he definitely has that gentle guy energy. The teasing continued. It stayed playful, but it never stopped, and neither did I. Smiling, I leaned into it. Honestly, if we ever got robbed, I'd probably throw Ethan toward the mugger and run. The laughter grew even louder. For a brief moment, I felt like I owned the room. Then I looked at Ethan. The feeling disappeared instantly. His face showed nothing, no smile, no laugh, not even a polite expression. Without saying a single word, he stood up, picked up his jacket, and quietly walked out. The laughter faded almost immediately. The room fell silent. Someone awkwardly whispered, "Yikes!" Another muttered, "I guess we hit a sensitive spot." I remained standing there with my drink in my hand, the excitement of the moment replaced by a growing knot of confusion. A few moments later, I caught up with him outside where snow quietly covered the sidewalk. "Ethan, come on," I said gently. It was only a joke." He never raised his voice. He never blamed me. He simply looked into my eyes and quietly asked, "Why did you make me the joke?" I stumbled over my words, insisting that everyone was laughing and it wasn't a big deal. "It doesn't have to be," he replied softly, but it still hurt. At the time, I honestly believed he was overreacting. I figured he'd calm down. I assumed we'd laugh about it later. But that night, he never came back to my apartment in Capitol Hill. He ignored every call. Every message remained unread. The next morning, I finally texted him. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. I never meant to." His reply arrived a little later, calm, simple, and painfully honest. "You didn't just embarrass me. You made me feel small in front of complete strangers. And the worst part, you enjoyed it." Only then did I truly understand. It wasn't just the joke, it was the way I'd used it. I'd traded his dignity for a few moments of attention. I'd made him look foolish just so I could be the funniest person in the room. The days that followed felt strangely empty. He didn't block me. He didn't disappear completely. But the warmth that had always existed between us was gone. A week later, I finally convinced him to meet me at a quiet coffee shop in Lodo. He looked calm, almost emotionally distant. "I'm not angry," he said. "I'm just exhausted from begging you to really see me." His words landed with a weight I couldn't escape. I begged him to forgive one mistake. He slowly shook his head. "It wasn't one mistake. It's a pattern. You've made me the punchline before. You either never noticed or you never cared enough to stop." That day, he walked away. There were no dramatic scenes, no shouting, no slammed doors, only a quiet goodbye that somehow hurt even more. Months passed, and I kept believing he'd eventually come back. I convinced myself what we had was too strong to end forever, but time has a way of exposing the truth. Little by little, I began seeing glimpses of his new life. Pictures from hiking trips through the Rocky Mountains, a genuine smile I hadn't seen in years. He looked lighter, happier, free from the weight I'd unknowingly placed on his shoulders. Then I saw the photograph that completely broke my heart. Ethan was standing beside someone else. Her name was Clara. She had a quiet kindness about her, a warmth that felt completely genuine. And when I looked into Ethan's eyes, I saw the same expression he once reserved only for me. Now it belonged to her, to someone who would never use his heart as the price of making other people laugh, someone who would never trade his dignity for a clever joke. Now, whenever I hear laughter that comes at someone else's expense, I stay silent, because I know exactly what that kind of laughter can cost. If you've ever turned someone you love into the punchline, stop for a moment and ask yourself, was the laughter really worth losing them? Some people never argue, they never yell, they never fight back, they simply walk away. And once they do, sometimes they never come back. If you've ever let someone truly special slip away because you failed to value them while you had the chance, remember their worth before it's too late.